Good morning everyone. My name is Jerome Griffin and I have the honour, privilege and pleasure to say a few words about Chris, but I'd also like to pay tribute to his wife Penny as well. Instead of going over Chris's life story, I decided to list a few things that Chris has taught me. This is what I've learned from Chris and Penny. The first three things Chris taught me were discernment, bias, and taking the road less travelled. My life changed in 1990 when I decided to knock on Chris's door at Cheam to inquire about the soon-to-be vacant English position. After we began discussing the job for approximately 10 minutes, it suddenly dawned on me that Chris was thinking about the gap year job. When I mentioned to him that I'm an English teacher, he swallowed hard to buy himself some time and he blurted out, "Why don't you come in and live at Cheam for a few days and see what a prep school is really like?" After my 3-day visit to Cheam, the staff were divided on whether they should employ an Australian to teach English. Chris could easily have said no. That was the easy option to take. But Chris's discernment and willingness to take the road less travelled enabled me to enjoy 10 of the best years of my life. The fourth lesson I learnt was allow children to have fun. Why is Cheam full of fond memories? It's all due to Chris. It was Confucius who said, "If you do a job you love, you never have to work a day in your life." Nearly every day at Cheam was fun, and I vividly remember Chris's words to me, "Make sure the children have fun." What made Chris Evers a great boss, and to use the Australian vernacular, a top bloke? Above all, Chris was fair, he was generous, kind, empathetic and wise. Each year I would read Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol with my pupils, and every time Mr. Fezziwig appeared in the story, I'd immediately be reminded of Chris, a boss who endeavoured to make sure his staff and children had fun. The next lesson I learned from Chris was persistence. It was a tough job being a headmaster at a preparatory boarding school in the 90s. However, Chris's determination, grit, nous, foresight, and his gregarious nature and his ability to relate to people won him many admirers. He made life-changing decisions for Cheam, which kept many people in a job, but some may have forgotten the role Chris played in setting the school up for success in the future. Chris did the hard yards in getting the school established, and then he passed the baton on to Mark Johnson, who complimented Chris, and Mark then took the school on a great journey. Chris and Mark were two great headmasters. Chris created a convivial atmosphere at Cheam. We all know the old saying, children might not remember everything a teacher taught them, but they remember the way the educator made them feel. Over the years, we've had a number of Cheamites visited us in Perth whilst they're travelling around Australia. One person stayed for 6 weeks. Another visited us 3 times. During the Rugby World Cup, we had 4 ex-Cheam boys sleeping downstairs. It was like the dorm at Cheam. Each ex-pupil who visited, I asked the following question: which school did you enjoy more, your public school or Cheam? And each boy or girl would say, "I enjoyed Cheam more." This was all down to Chris and Penny. Chris taught me many wise and witty sayings. On many occasions I've used a Chrisism to describe a child or situation. Gems such as, "So-and-so has his deck chair out," or "Let's iron out a few wrinkles," and "Only boring people are bored," as well as "Let's talk more about it around the tea trolley." Chris's spirit and legacy lives on. And what are some of Chris's legacies which continue to this day at Cheam? Both the Easter cricket course and the summer activity camps began because of Chris. When times were tough, Chris asked the staff if they could come up with ideas to entice pupils into the school. Hence the Easter cricket course and the summer camps, which are part of the Cheam landscape these days. It is so comforting to know that kids are continuing to have fun during the holidays at Cheam, all due to Chris. Also, overseas trips by sporting, musical or other educational pursuits were introduced by Chris. We had trips to Hungary, Ireland and Zimbabwe, all promoted and instigated by him. This tradition continues at Cheam today, and Chris provided the building blocks for these remarkable occasions. As you can see, I have a cornucopia of fond memories of my time at Cheam, and it was all down to Chris, and Penny must also take a bow. As we all know, behind every great man is an even greater woman. I learnt my trade from the master builder, and I see Chris as a mighty oak in the vast forest of prep school headmasters. Lastly, to Toby, Sophie and Becca, and to all Chris's relatives and friends, I've tried to paint a picture of Chris, and I hope some of the stories bring a source of comfort and perhaps some joy. Chris and Penny touched so many lives. We all have a life tapestry which include the people, places and events that are dear to us. Chris, Penny and Cheam School are prominent in my life tapestry. Thank you for listening to me for Chris and Penny's life lessons.